What is up, fantasy endgame community? Thanks for joining us. I'm Pierre. He's Chris. Week 15 is not quite over, but most of it is. And if you just finished watching Red Zone or highlights or anything, you saw probably the craziest ending to any game ever. I mean, honestly, I don't think, a lot of times the announcers, I've never seen anything like that. I literally don't think I've ever seen anything like that ending in how long have I been watching football? Almost, not quite 40 years, almost 40 years. Um, was that as insane as I thought it was?
I mean, we've seen endings like that, but it's when the team lateraling is losing and has to lateral, right? And then they throw like the fumble and the team scores, and it's like, oh, I won because like my defense got that cheap touchdown or whatever. But not when the game is tied and you're gonna go to over. Like, what? What? Like what? What? Like, but like okay, but like I hope Ramondre was not coached. Like, hey, we need to start like I hope they weren't coached that. Like, did Ramondre just think like they needed the lateral? And then Jacoby Myers like he lateral to him, so Jacoby Myers was like, well, I guess we're lateraling, and then he like. I really hope they weren't coached to do that. That's brutal.
And that's so because that came off the end of a huge game from Ramondre, who we didn't even know he was going to play or if he played. The risk was, is he 100% and is he going to be limited? No, like of course he went off, and so if you benched him, then you're probably a little ticked off. And I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick is ticked off at him because this is stupid. That's such a Raiders thing to do. It went on the Raiders' benefit. Like you think that's something they would have done,
Yes.
not a Bill Belichick team. So that's what's crazy about it. That the team doing it, you'd think they would have been told specifically, like just go down, and don't do anything stupid. But no. All right, so we're here to wrap up what has gone down so far today and yesterday for Week 15. We're going to get to your comments in just a second. Some reminders, first of all. We are going to also be live on Tuesday night when we talk waiver wire. And, well, if you still trade at this point, some of you are trades also, but we'll do some early starts at 2. But we're also going to do our start sit show, the one that we always do, usually on Saturdays. Last week was on Friday. Well, guess what? This week also on Friday, because almost every game in Week 16 is going to be on Saturday. Christmas is throwing a wrench in the schedule, so the 24th is on Saturday. It's a full day of football. There's only 3 games on Sunday because that's Christmas Day. So the point is, Friday night, join us for our start sit show, but also Tuesday night. If you want to join us on now, I guess it'll be Saturday morning for our Patreon private chat. You can do that. Patreon.com/fantasyfootballendgame. Link is in the description below. And of course, join the Discord where everybody just goes nuts and just. Some of the stuff that goes in there during the game day discussion channel. I mean, let it fly. That's what it's for. I mean, Man, I haven't jumped in there lately because I've been getting ready here, but I'm waiting to see some of the comments down there. All right, so here we go. Let's start with some of the biggest surprises, and Pats Raiders ending is one of them. How about the Bucks in this late game also choking away to the Bengals? It looked like they were going to actually win and win big, 17-0, and then they just did absolutely nothing until the end of the game. The Bengals did what we expected the Bengals to do, and now I think the Bucks are actually not in control of their division. I think the Panthers are somehow like they say they control their own destiny. I mean, but Evans actually did something in the first half, and then Godwin actually looks good again. I mean, and then Russell Gage reemerges and from out of nowhere. What do we do with the Bucks?
I don't know, but I mean, they look bad. Brady looks terrible. What, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles in the second half, and it was like he threw an interception, then he fumbled again. Like he fumbled handing off to Leonard Fournette. It just like squirted out of his hand. He's like a simple handoff to Leonard Fournette, just like squirted out of his hand. Then he throws another interception. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, can't feel good starting anybody. The receivers, Rachaad White, Leonard Fournette, Tom Brady. Like, you can't feel good starting anybody on the Bucs offense. Like, okay, yeah, you got a little bailed out today. Evans had a nice game. Godwin had a touchdown. Gage somehow had 2. But I mean, man, you got to be terrified anytime you have a Bucs player in your lineup.
Like, Godwin has been better. I mean, he's been a guy who I feel you can start with confidence now each and every week. Rashad White's taking a dip. That's unfortunate. It's just so weird the way this game went, because they went from being up big to then all of a sudden being a negative game script all second
Yeah.
half. I don't know. But that was a crazy one. And then also, of course, that we have to talk about yesterday's game, the very first one, Colts and the Vikings, which was historic. The worst, or I should say the biggest comeback, the worst choke job ever by the Colts. Man, is Kirk Cousins like for real?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is for real. And what's funny? Yesterday I was thinking, like, after that game, I'm like, man, I've been watching sports my whole life. And I don't want to age myself too badly, but I'm pretty old. And I'm like, every time I think I've seen everything, something happens. I'm like, I can't believe I just saw that. And then so I'm thinking, like, maybe now I've actually seen everything. And then tonight happened. Like, literally the next day, I saw something I never thought I'd see. Like, that's what makes sports so great and also heartbreaking and everything, right? But yeah, like, Matt Ryan now owns the biggest collapse in NFL history and the biggest collapse in Super Bowl history. Not a good honor for Matt Ryan.
No, and of course, we'll talk waiver wire and injuries, for tomorrow's video and also Tuesday's show. Jonathan Taylor going out. That's a big blow for fantasy owners, especially giving you nothing when you need it the most. So get to that. And then let's talk about some of the other big choke jobs. How about Deshaun Watson? Ugh. Yeah, it didn't happen. I don't think it's happening this season.
No, he's on tonight's panic video. He's droppable. Like, that was it. That was the game where I was like, okay, back at home. Like, Baltimore's a good defense, but they don't have a great secondary. He did nothing. Did almost nothing. Like, because here's the thing. In most leagues, there's only 4 teams left, right? If you're still playing and you're one of 4 teams, I would hope you have a better quarterback option than Deshaun Watson. So, yeah, definitely droppable.
Yeah, you could stream anybody else. Yeah, Watson, huge disappointment there. And we thought, it's close. Cousins, Watson could be similar. It was a little different. But of course, did anybody think the Vikings were going to have to come back from 33-0 deficit? So don't tell me, you should have known Kirk Cousins was going to throw for 400 yards. Come on.
In a half. At halftime yesterday, if you had Kirk Cousins, you're like, well, my week's over. He's got negative points at the half. My week's done, right? I'm done. Like, he's going to be terrible. They're not going to do anything. Like, I'm done. I wish I would have played Deshaun Watson. And then all of a sudden, it's like Kirk Cousins. I don't think he was the top scoring QB this week, but he was like number 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah, but there were some big games this week, some big fantasy games.
There were some big games, but there were also some big busts. There are a lot of players on tonight's panic video, like a lot of big names on tonight's panic video. Like, there was a lot of letdown games for sure. Like, studs letting you down when you needed them most, no doubt.
But you always said this is the time of the year. You feel like this is the week when you need them most. And, there's always guys that bust. It's just magnified because it's the playoffs.
Exactly.
And then the guys that nobody was really on, or you're like, I'm not sure, maybe, and they just go off. Yeah. One of those guys was Zay Jones, who gifted you with, if you started him, which I wonder how many people actually started Zay Jones with 3 touchdowns. Like, look, Christian Kirk was fine. Like, he had a decent point output, but Zay Jones is the guy. He's going to, by year end, I think he's going to outscore Christian Kirk at this point. So,
well, yeah, after today.
I mean, Zay Jones, insane. And look, here's one of those things. Other John would be in the championship game if I had started Zay Jones instead of Devontae Adams. Or
I know, but I mean, that's like saying, like, I don't know, like if I would have started KJ Osborne instead of, Stephon Diggs, I'd be in the championship. Like, yeah, you're right, you would be, because KJ Osborne went for 31 and Stephon Diggs went for 10. But then nobody in their right mind is starting KJ Osborne over Stephon Diggs, and like, you can't be mad at yourself for starting Devontae Adams and Mike Williams over Zay Jones. In fact, I'm looking on Sleeper right now. First of all, Zay Jones only rostered in 44% of leagues, not even rostered in that many leagues. Only was started in 22% of leagues this week. That's it. So, yeah, don't kick yourself if you didn't start Zay Jones. What are you gonna do? You
can't play the what if game because you never win, and then it's like there's no end to it. There's no end to it. You can say, oh man, if only I would have not drafted Cooper Kupp and I would have drafted, anybody else instead, real Stephon Diggs instead. Well, yeah, that sounds great now, but at the time, of course you drafted Cooper Kupp. You didn't know he was going to be, out for the year, and then Yeah, if I only would have drafted Josh Jacobs instead of anybody. Like, so what? Okay. Yes, and this is a good point. This is why buys matter because you
Yes.
don't even want any part of the madness. You don't want to risk it because
No.
even the top teams can have bad weeks,
Yeah.
and sometimes those mediocre teams will go off because they have to start Zay Jones, and then they
Yes.
All right, so let's get to some questions here. So fuck Tech. I am down 3.5 with Barkley and Watson left, and the opponent has no one.
Like you have to be like the most pessimistic human being on earth. And I'm not picking on you. I don't know how to pronounce your name. So Folk. I don't know. I apologize. But you'd have to be like literally like the most pessimistic person on earth to think you're not going to get at least 3.5 points from Barkley and Watson combined. I think you have a chance. Yes, a very good one.
I think this is like a very roundabout way to try to like a backhanded compliment to himself, like a way of like kind of humble bragging. He like, I might pull it out. I have Barkley as like my flex. It's like,
okay. Yeah.
And then not only our favorite movie, but also I think my favorite comment I've seen in a long time, Shrek 2 on DVD.
All right, I'll take it.
I thought we were in our 30s.
I'll take it. Yes,
I thought so too.
We were both
then
in
I woke up
40s.
and I remembered I wasn't.
Yeah.
And our favorite guy, Tyler. What's up, Tyler?
What's up,
been a
Tyler?
while. Sucks to be definitely sucks to be a Pats fan today. Were they robbed of a win by the refs?
Yeah. Well, okay. Maybe the Raiders still would have tied it, but how did they rule that Keenan Cole touchdown a touchdown? Like his foot looked clearly out of bounds to me. Like, was it say like what? I was like shocked when they ruled that a touchdown. So yeah. But they still, but it wasn't like that was 4th down. They still could have potentially scored. And look, you should have gone to overtime. Maybe you win in overtime, maybe you don't. But you should have at least gone to overtime. But yeah,
the loss was straight up their own fault. But I will just say this: as many calls as the Pats have gone their way all these years, there's zero sympathy from me. Zero.
Well, of course, from you. Yeah.
Tuck rule. Come on. The Tuck rule was invented just for Tom Brady. Okay. Anyways, this is actually reasonable question. I thought this myself. Does Ramondre kind of get in the doghouse because of that last play?
Well, it depends. Was that just Ramondre's decision? Did he just think like, I'm about to get tackled and we're gonna lose? I don't know. Did he not know the score, or was it like? Or did the coaches tell him, did the coaches tell the players, like, hey, if you think you can, throw some laterals, let's see if we can make a play happen? I don't know. But if that was Ramondre's decision, like if Ramondre just decided, like, hey, I'm just going to start lateraling the ball, then, there's definitely a chance. But he looked good today. Can you really bench a guy that's playing like he is? Especially he came off a bum ankle and played like his butt off, basically. Like, I don't think you could bench him.
Yeah, I think if it was almost anybody else, maybe, but they need Ramondre. And now they're desperate. They're clinging to their playoff hopes because they lost again. And now some of those other teams are winning. So I don't think so. I'm not worried about that.
I don't think.
I think we've seen it's proven. You just have to start Ramondre. Marcos, what up, Marcos? Lost because you left Waddle on the bench. He didn't have a crazy game, but it was pretty good. Definitely better. There were some legit concerns about Waddle on the road in Buffalo. 2 down games. He came through, which is good for most of us. But, I wonder who you put in instead of Waddle. I guess that's the question. Is maybe not that you benched Waddle. It's like, oh, you started X player instead. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, who did you start in ahead of Waddle? Because definitely Waddle to me this week, I wasn't feeling great about Waddle. And let's be real. Look. Everything counts. Every play counts. But he only had 3 catches. He saved his day with that long, it was like a short catch, and he took it to the house. And the funny thing was, on that play, the defender points to Traymon Emmons and says, hey, if he comes up the seam, you take him. And then he runs up the seam, and Traymon Emmons, or whoever it was, or Jordan, maybe it was Poirier, I don't remember, lets him run right by him. Like, literally, the guy told him for the play, if he runs up the seam, you got him. And he runs up the seam, and the guy doesn't get him. But look, I get it. Every point counts. Every crazy play counts. But it's not like he went out there and had like an 8 catch, 150 yard, without that one play, you're not worried you didn't start him. So I get it. Like I wasn't all over. I mean, neither of us were like, you have to start Waddle this week. There are definitely players who would have started over Waddle for sure.
We took him out of the no doubt must start section, but he was still a good start. You know what he's capable of, and he showed you what he's capable of. All right, so let's get some of these brutal L's out of the way. Just rip them up and turn them out after this week. I had Stevenson all season, gets injured last game. Didn't think he was going to come back on the bench. Yeah, that is tough. Mac Jones, yeah, I'm definitely with you there. Mac Jones is not him.
Yeah, Stevenson was tough. What's funny is one of my matchups, my opponent had Stevenson, and they put Montgomery in instead. And I was like, all right, Montgomery against the Eagles, he's going to do nothing. And, of course, it ended up not really mattering because they almost scored the same amount of points. But, so you're not alone there with Stevenson. He was definitely risky because we didn't know. I think we felt pretty confident as of this morning that he would play. It was more a matter of, is he 100%? How much is he going to be effective? Obviously he was. So yeah, it's one of those things again. You can't beat yourself up for that.
No, it was up to the end. You never know with Patriots running backs. You don't. This one's probably worse. Z scored 165, still lost. I mean, that's head to head.
That's brutal. That's always like the worst way to lose. Like I'd rather either like my team just did nothing, or my opponent just went off on me. It's always terrible because then you look at like the other matchup and it's like 110 to 104, right? Or something where you're like, if I had played either of those teams, I'm moving on. But instead I played the other monster team and I'm out. And one of those crappy teams get to advance, right? It's always frustrating. Always. Feel your pain.
There's a lot of luck involved, not just for the players as far as points getting, but matchups and there's just all has to break right for you. Didn't break right. Speaking of breaks, if you had Jonathan Taylor, Cedric Wright going to lose because of that.
Yeah, I mean that was brutal. Like first touch out for the game. Like yeah, I mean just nothing you can do. But yeah, brutal.
Nothing you can do. All right, let's get some dubs here. Jason Manoa was fortunate enough to get a bye week. Good on you. Did you think that Dalvin Cook had made a whole season without missing a game? Hey, still rolling.
Still rolling. Can he make it a game without fumbling? That's the question at this point. Like, can he get through a game without fumbling?
Doesn't matter. He's going to do what he did on that one play, man. But still stash Madison because just when you say that, you never know.
Yeah, all it would take is for Madison to play Week 17, and you'd be happy you stashed him.
Right. Still stash. Nobody thought Jonathan Taylor would miss as many games as he did.
Yeah.
He was Mr.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor was the safest pick in all of fantasy.
That's right. Super safe. Running backs are always super safe. Mr. Jones was up 1 in all 5 leagues.
That's go, Mr. Jones.
All right, and Benny Morgan ready for the championship.
Wow, you guys do your championship early, but I guess that's good. You don't have to worry about any kind of like players getting rested, so that's good. Good luck, Benny. Let's go.
And then your alter ego, Chris, all in, won by 2 points.
Nice. Take it, man. Win is a win.
All right, Ralphie wants to know, up 16, have Saquon. He has Terry McLaurin.
I like your chances, definitely. I mean,
16.
Yeah, I mean Terry would have to have a huge game, and Saquon would have to like do nothing pretty much. So yeah, I like your chances a lot.
Yeah, if it was up 6, I'd say I still would take your side, but it's close. But 16, you should be good. You should be very good. All right, 410 Braxton. Looks like Knox is back. Might gotta sit Chiggy. That's a good question, especially because maybe next week is when Treylon Burks does come back. And then, Titans offense is just basically it's Derrick Henry or nothing. But what do you think? Just looking ahead, you like Knox next week over Chig?
I don't know. I mean, Chig did. I mean, probably if Burks is back, but Chig got you 10 in PPR. You're never going to complain about that. The thing is, Miami is a terrible defense against tight ends for some reason.
Yes.
I mean, look, 2 tight ends scored last night. It was last night, right? Yeah, 2 tight ends scored last night for the Dolphins or for the Bills. They're terrible against tight ends. I don't know who does Knox play in Week 15.
Next week the Bills,
Chicago, who's actually
Bears.
really, really strong against tight ends.
Yeah.
But, I think Knox will probably be on the streaming radar now because this is 2 games in a row, right? He's scored in 2 games in a row. He's had double-digit fantasy points 2 games in a row. There's not a lot of tight end. That's really any tight end that has a chance to score on any given week is startable. And Knox lately has a chance to score, so he's definitely startable.
With Chig, it's like, the upside isn't tremendous. And he does get the Texans next week. But I think you might want to go for the higher ceiling with Knox. But check back with us on Friday night for Start Sit. All right, let's do some. Well, here's another tight end question. Do a pickup question. Would you drop Muth or Pacheco for Goddard? I think so.
Oh yeah. Muth definitely. Not Pacheco. I mean, I know Pacheco a huge letdown today against Houston. He fumbled, got benched for a long time. We saw Ronald Jones. We saw McKinnon, by the way. McKinnon winning weeks for sure if you started him. But look, he gets Seattle next. Pacheco gets Seattle next week. As long as he's not, and he in the second half he started getting the ball again, so it's not like we don't have to worry about him being benched next week or anything. But you could drop Muth for Goddard for sure. Muth with the goose egg today, man. I mean, we were worried about Trubisky, but I don't think we were this worried about Trubisky for Freiermuth. Jeez, goose egg today.
Well, it's weird. It was all Deontay Johnson, and all of a sudden in this, last few games, it's been all Deontay Johnson. George Pickens just disappeared. Muth has been just okay. Yeah, today getting nothing. That was a surprise.
Yeah, 0.
All right, and then just so you know, guys, we'll do as many comments as we can. Try to prioritize some start sit. If you happen to have a start sit question for tonight and or tomorrow night, we'll definitely get those in. And of course, if there's a super chat that comes through, definitely we'll get to that immediately. So let's do Philip Evans. Would you prefer Barkley tonight or Christian Watson tomorrow?
Okay, well, here's what I would say, Philip. I mean, I can't ever really bench Barkley, but I would say, like, where are you at points wise? Like, do you need, like, are you like, is it close? Because I don't see Barkley like booming, like having like a huge, game in this matchup against Washington. Like, they're a good run defense. Like, I could see Barkley having like a 15 to 20 type point game, but I don't see him having like a 25, 30, 35 type game. So this would come down to me, like, where am I at versus my opponent? Like, am I winning? And I don't want the risk of Christian Watson busting tomorrow.
Well, let me tell you, because I'm looking farther down. Philip put a little more detail into this question. I won't post it. Okay. He says, I really want to play him just to have someone else to watch tonight, LOL, because he says he already lost today. They set the league up to play each team 2 weeks in my league. So he's saying, I guess he already lost this week of the matchup, but then they play again next week. But is that, well, if it doesn't matter.
Is it like a total points thing for the 2 weeks?
I would think so. In that case, it does matter.
Yeah, it does matter because you want the most points. Like,
yeah. But
the thing is, like, again, I guess it would depend on, like, how many points are you behind? Like, did your opponent, is your opponent way ahead and you need the potential like 30-point game from Christian Watson? Or is it like close, Yeah, because both these guys to me are like must starts.
Yeah. I mean, I think Watson is more of the ceiling play this week, like you're saying, but yeah, and the Rams have been giving up quite a few points to wide receivers lately. I don't know if I can sit Barkley for him. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to play Barkley tonight, so you have somebody to watch, do it. Because I have no problem starting Barkley. No problems at all. He's a must start.
I would just start Barkley.
Yeah, just start Barkley.
All right. Let's see another question here. How about this one? Fabulous. Tie game, got Barkley and Dobbs. Opponent has Gibson and Dotson.
I feel like you should win. I mean, Dobbs, like, what? Why'd you have to start Dobbs? Like, how? Oh, what kind of league is this? But I mean, they're starting Gibson and Dotson, so my worry is Dobbs getting 0 though. That's my worry because they're They're saying he might be limited on his snaps count this week. Like, man, I
mean, I expect 0 from Dobbs. So, but Dotson, there's no guarantee Dotson does much of anything.
Or Gibson. I mean, I still think you got a chance, but it's going to be close. But man, I would have. Look, it's too late now. But man, I wish like you could have got to us first and just told us who was on the waiver wire, because I guarantee you there's wide receivers on the waiver wire. Maybe they didn't go off, but I would have preferred over Dobbs this week.
Oh yeah, sure. I don't think Dobbs is startable this week.
No.
I wasn't even sure he was going to play this week. Well, I'm trying to think who could be on the waiver wire in the league. I mean, probably not Darius Slayton. Who's still going to play? Van Jefferson. Would you put him over Dobbs? Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, I would. I mean, yeah, is Van Jefferson? Is Tutu Atwell out there? Tutu Atwell actually got some run with Baker Mayfield last week. If Tutu Atwell is out there, I would drop Dobbs and pick up Tutu Atwell and play him, because at least he should get some catches. They'll manufacture touches for him, like screens and stuff.
Yeah, you want points, like actual points. There's another guy we didn't talk about yet, Dominique Harris. Etienne finally with a good game, and it was a good week for it. And Dallas, but that's the thing. Dallas' defense the last 2 weeks against Jacksonville, giving up a ton of points, and against Houston, almost losing, not looking so good. Do you think there's more about Etienne or Dallas?
Well, look, I was talking up Etienne. I mean, I wasn't like saying, oh, you got to start Etienne, but I was saying like I kind of like Etienne this week. I think it's a good matchup. I think that's one thing you can do against Dallas is you can actually run the ball on them. Although I guess against Dallas these days you can do whatever you want, because Trevor Lawrence went off. Yeah. So, but the worry for Etienne here still is not catching passes. So he's like Nick Chubb. He's like any of these guys that doesn't catch any passes. J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, they can have nice games where you're looking big. Wow, they ran for over 100 yards, and you're like, yeah, but I got 10 fantasy points. I got 11 fantasy points, because they don't give you any, like, even just catching like 3 passes for 15 yards, 20 yards. That takes a guy from like a 10-point game to a 15-point game, or a 12-point game to a 17-point game. Like, just getting a few catches is huge if you're in PPR, of course. But yeah, he looked good, but I kind of did like him.
Yeah, I guess he's still startable. I mean, I was down on him. He's not like he had a big game. And I think this is interesting. Where is it? I just saw this. Someone saying that Etienne came through, but like Pacheco let me down. There wasn't that big a difference fantasy-wise for them, because Etienne on total had, I think 14 fantasy points. He didn't score a touchdown. Pacheco got like 10.5. It's not that big a difference, but it's just expectations. We expected Pacheco to just smash and do.
Yeah.
Well, he fumbled and then he sat for a while, and that hurt him. He actually ran really well, but we didn't expect anything from Etienne, and he actually did something. So, but in the end, it wasn't that big a difference. All right, so Joel Rodriguez has Barkley and Watson, needs 13. My opponent has nobody left. You can get 13 from those two guys easy.
Yeah, you definitely should take the win. I mean, it's fantasy, so of course you never know, right? Like we saw with JT or something. I mean, knock on wood, we don't want anybody to get hurt, of course. Especially because, yeah, Barkley or Watson. But yeah, 13 points with those two guys, you should be good.
Should be very good. Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully you don't have both your studs bust. Alexis is an easy one. Alexis Rivera, how can you get advice for next week? I said at the very top, if you just joined us, we do a start-sit show, usually Saturdays all season, but this week, just like last week, it's going to be on Friday night, because there are, well, basically all the games are on Saturday. There's only 3 Sunday games this coming week, if y'all weren't aware, because Christmas Day, and that's the NBA's day. So almost all the games are Saturday. You got to set your lineups before then. So we're going live on Friday night for start-sit. And we do our waiver wire. We also go live for 3 hours again on Tuesday night to talk about waivers and possibly trades and early start-sit advice. But there you go. All right, let's see. What about Zach Wilson? I mean, we're probably not picking him up in fantasy, but look, he wasn't terrible. He had 300 yards.
I mean, is this a super flex league? 2 QB? Because you shouldn't really need either of these guys. Again, I mean, in most leagues, and I don't know your league. Who knows? Your league could be there's some crazy leagues out there with like very unique, playoffs and scoring or whatever. But in most leagues, again, you're going to be one of 4 teams left. I would hope that there's a better QB option than Zach Wilson for you. I mean, maybe not. Maybe there's not. Maybe there just is. Maybe you're in like some super deep league and maybe everybody stashes like 2 or 3 quarterbacks and you're stuck with this. You know what I mean? But who do the Jets even play next week?
Let's see. I don't remember it offhand, but I did make the notes. They actually play the Thursday game, and it's against the Jags, who not a shutdown defense.
I mean, I'd probably start Zach Wilson over Watson, I guess. Watson just, not going to happen this year.
Yeah, it's not happening there. I mean, look, the Browns are at home again, which I guess didn't make a big difference last time, but they get the Saints, which are a worse defense than the Ravens, but still. Maybe go Zach Wilson. I don't know. Hopefully neither. Yeah, all right, a couple more victory laps here. Silent Moose won on that last catch by Mike Williams, the one that was kind of a desperation. He even got them the field goal, which helped them win. So knocked out the number 1 seed. Nice.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, they all count, but like, yeah, that's a good way to win loss for the number 1. That's a tough loss for the number 1 seed for sure.
And then Defy Dior, you've been with us the last few weeks. Won. All right. Well, awesome. And then Whiskey Tango. I'm assuming the T stands for Tango. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Popping in to say thanks. Was eliminated today, though. Oh, man. And you had Etienne, who was good. Pacheco was fine. Schultz. Yeah. Schultz got to sit there and watch Noah Brown catch a touchdown and then watch the 5th string tight end, Hendershot, catch a touchdown.
It was so annoying. And, like, the first touchdown for Noah Brown was so annoying because Dak rolled out to the right. Dalton Schultz, which was the way easier throw, right? Just right in front of him. They're running together, like right in front of him, is wide open. And even CeeDee Lamb, if he didn't want Schultz, if he was like mad at Schultz or whatever, CeeDee Lamb behind Schultz was also wide open. And he threw it back across his body into the middle of the end zone to Noah Brown. And I'm like, does he have Noah Brown on his fantasy team? Dalton Schultz was like, it's like you just go like this, doop, and Dalton Schultz has a touchdown. Easy. No risk of a turnover, no risk of an interception. And he threw it across his body to Noah Brown. I mean, he caught it, but I was just like, that should have been Schultz. That should have been a Schultz touchdown. What? Oh, that was brutal.
And the worst thing about it is because like I'm watching the game, and I also have, my computer open, and we have the Discord open, and, chatting on the game day. And I hear the announcer say, Dalton Schultz is open. Oh, but he sees Noah Brown instead for the touchdown. It's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
The announcer even called it. He's like, oh, Dalton Schultz is going to score. No. Anyways, Brian McMullen won and scored over 200 and still has Watson left just to kind of rub it in.
Jeez, just to rub it in.
Very nice. All right. So let's see. We already did that one. Yeah, needed Davante Adams to do something. He really, really didn't. Do you think, by the way, just asking this out loud now, of course, we'll talk about it on our videos, Hunter Renfro's back, Darren Waller's back. Does that make you even a little worried about Davante Adams?
I mean, it wasn't really Hunter Renfro. It was Mac Hollins, right? And, Renfro. Did Hunter Renfro even have a catch today? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think so.
But also, Darren Waller had that big touchdown, had another big catch. I'm not worried about Davante Adams, but and it was a tough matchup against the Patriots. Look, Davante Adams is a great receiver, but the Patriots are good. They are a good defense, right? They are a good secondary. And Derek Carr was terrible pretty much for a lot of that game, as he usually is, and got bailed out by a touchdown that was out of bounds. But anyways,
so I'm asking too because NBA Crypto Boy is asking thoughts on Waller. Of course, we'll talk about in the tight end video, which we'll see in a couple days. But early thoughts on Waller, who caught a touchdown, but are you all in on him?
No, definitely not all in on him. I mean, look again in the tight. Like what else did he do? Let me see here. So he only had 3 catches for 48 yards and that big touchdown. It wasn't like he, again. But again, with the tight end landscape the way it is, any tight end who has opportunities to score, which he will, or who's fairly involved in the offense, which he is at least startable. He's not a guy that I'm like, oh yeah, you got to start. Well, I mean, he had that long touchdown and he gave you 13.8 in PPR. So, without that long touchdown, he's giving you nothing. But I mean, again, he's a startable tight end. As are probably 15 to 20 guys. You just got to try to pick the right one every week.
Wow. That's it. I think almost by default, he jumps into the top 12 because, like a guy like Gerald Everett now is just not doing anything because all the other receivers are back. And, like Freiermuth is okay, but he's not scoring. The Steelers offense just, is more conservative these days. And so, he drops a little bit. Anyways, yeah, I think he's okay. And then Kathy from High Low Photo and Video with a super sticker, just giving a shout out saying that we provide some good therapy. Yeah, look, this is the place where you can, just kind of commiserate after that tough loss, or you can celebrate after your win. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we've been doing this a long time. We've had our share of like incredible wins, incredible heartbreaks. I mean, yeah. So we get it. We're right there with you guys.
Right, definitely. All right, 215 Eagles up by 7. He has Green Bay defense.
Gonna be close. I do like Green Bay defense, but again, they're a defense, right? I mean, it's a defense. Like, I'm assuming if you have your standard scoring where which by the way, I don't want to go on a rant, but defense scoring is completely broken. Like, how do you go from 10 points to 4 just by giving up a touchdown? That makes no sense. Like, oh, our defense is so bad they gave up a touchdown. Like, a touchdown? But anyways. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. I do like Green Bay, but it's still a defense. Defenses can always bust. I mean, Dallas busted. Carolina busted hard today. Like, defenses bust. So,
yeah, this is one of those. If you ask me to bet on this, I would just say no thanks. I'm not going to take either side. I don't know. It is going to be very close. Just root, I guess, for once, maybe. If you're an Eagles fan, especially, maybe for once in your life, you can root for Baker Mayfield. Anthony Gonzalez up by 30, but he's got Christian Watson and Aaron Jones. Am I doomed?
Maybe. It's gonna be very close. It really depends. I think it depends on 2 things. Does Aaron Jones catch a bunch of passes and score a touchdown? Because this could definitely be an Aaron Jones bust night, because the way you beat this Rams defense is to throw on them. So it could definitely be an Aaron Jones bust night if he's not catching 6 or 7 passes and doesn't find the end zone. I don't see Aaron Jones having like a huge running output. Christian Watson is the wild card here, right? Because he could go for like 20 plus, or this could be the week where the wheels fall off. We just don't know, right? So yeah, it's definitely you're gonna be sweating for sure. I don't not envy you that sweat you're gonna have.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think you've got a good chance. I don't feel big games from both these guys. Rams defense is still playing with some pride a little bit. And like you said, I don't think this is a huge week for Jones. I like Aaron Jones a lot next week, but I think you've got a good shot. And then Chris KD with a super chat, but
Chris?
Also 1 by 3 like that. Sanders, Schultz, and Bucker almost through for you. Chris, sweating.
I'm not a kicker guy, but you got to drop Butker. He's obviously not 100%.
That's true.
He barely can make extra points right now. Like, you got to drop Butker. I'm not a kicker guy. I'm not going to tell you who to pick up because I have no clue. I just play whoever my friends tell me to play who think they know kickers, and that's what I do. But I know enough about kickers to know you need to drop Butker. Get him out of there. He's injured. Yeah. Look, the Chiefs need to get a kicker. You can't go the Chiefs cannot go into the playoffs with Butker. Like, you're going to need like a 40-yarder to win it, and Butker has no chance right now. Like, the Chiefs need a kicker too, but you definitely need to get rid of Butker.
Because he was hurt earlier in the season for a couple of weeks. I think it was Amendola who filled in, and he actually did a pretty good job. But yeah, he missed a couple of kicks today. Not good. Obviously not good for the Chiefs themselves, but
yeah.
All right. And then Chris, by the way, Chris, KD, Your jersey, Chris was our winner for the giveaway. Gave away a Najee Harris jersey. Perfect timing because as you see, Najee finally living up at least somewhat to the billing. I know maybe not first round worthy, but he's coming through now late in the season, better than early in the season. It's on the way. Promise, it's on the way. All right, Justin View, some tough early waiver wire decisions. He won even despite having JT. Should you pick up JT's backup, which would be Deion Jackson, or Mostert or Algier, who had a monster game, and Caleb Huntley is now hurt?
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, I would say Deion Jackson, but Zach Moss got a lot of run too. It wasn't just like Deion Jackson like we saw last time, right, when it was all Deion Jackson. Zach Moss got a lot of run. I'm worried it's going to be kind of a 50-50 in a bad offense. Because look, the Colts scored 36 points, but what, they had one offensive touchdown? 36 points, is that right? 36 points with one offensive touchdown? Like, this isn't a fantasy-friendly offense still. I was really encouraged by what I saw by Algier today. I mean, he looks like that. We talk about it a lot, right? After the bye, teams strategize. They say, we got to get these young guys more involved. He was way more involved today. He looked great. He looked explosive. He doesn't have the best matchup next week against Baltimore, so that worries me a little bit. Most are definitely interesting, too, against Green Bay next week if Jeff Wilson is out again, because he looked good. He looked really good, and Green Bay not very good against the run. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure Pierre will have thoughts on all these guys.
I've got them all already lined up on the sheet
tomorrow's waiver video. Yes,
these videos. But I'll just say right now, you don't have to pick like tonight. You're obviously not using your waivers unless your waivers are just open. I like Mostert next week, best of these guys. I also like Algier, but not next week. And then Deion Jackson would probably be third. All right, let's keep going here. We've got about 10 minutes till that game is going to start. So trying to answer some start-sit questions, and also if you do have any lineup decisions for tonight, especially. All right, this is a fair comment. DH, Etienne is allergic to the end zone. He did yardage-wise, but not getting any touchdowns. That's why the big games aren't coming.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He's, like, again, he's one of these running backs like Pacheco, Chubb, whoever that catch, no passes, Dobbins, one pass. If they don't score, it's hard for them to have a big game, right? Yeah.
It is. You can't predict touchdowns. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Dicer 007. All right. Like it. Heim down by 21.5. Okay. So would you play Saquon or B-Rob being down that big?
I'm definitely going Saquon here. I mean, I know Brian Robinson has a good matchup, but I mean, what's his path to 21.5 points? Like 2 touchdowns, right? Like, does he get to 21.5 even if he scores once?
I think a good game from Brian Robinson, if he does kind of like we did against the Giants, he's not a pass catcher. Remember, it would be maybe 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's 16 points.
Yeah, it's not 21.5.
Could do that, and he will catch at least a couple of passes and get you some yardage there. And of course, I mean, you'd go with talent here. No offense to Brian Robinson, but Saquon Barkley had been the number 1 running back in fantasy for the first half of the season. It's got to be Saquon.
Yeah, gotta be Saquon.
Do you think, Mr. Funky KO, that Bam Knight will be better the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, he'll be better. He does have better matchups. Like, I was not really on Bam Knight this week because Detroit has been an elite, not a good run defense, elite. They shut down Dalvin Cook. They shut down Saquon Barkley. I think they shut down some other good running backs. But he gets a better matchup this week against Jacksonville. And then I think in week 17, he gets like a great matchup. I forget who it is. Maybe it's Seattle or something. But also the worry for Bam Knight, kind of like Etienne, kind of like Chubb, kind of like Dobbins, all these guys. He doesn't catch passes. No catches today. No catches. Because Michael Carter, he gets what little, especially with Zach Wilson, there's not nearly as many dump-offs with Zach Wilson. And whatever there are, Michael Carter kind of gets them. So he'll be better, though. He'll be better. But he's another touchdown-dependent kind of guy.
Yeah, definitely will be better next week. He'll be startable next week. I mean, Like at this point, whoever's playing Detroit at running back, don't start him. Next week, it's Deontay Foreman, not starting him.
And he looks terrible anyways.
And he was terrible anyways, against Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh's run defense has been really good lately too, if you hadn't noticed.
Well, TJ
Watt defense has been much better.
Yeah.
All right, then Kathy with already the super sticker and now the early Christmas gift.
Thank you, Merry Christmas.
Injuries have been rough, but yeah, that's what we're here for. Look, even if you guys got knocked out, let me just say this: even if you're out of this year's playoffs, maybe you're in 1-2 leagues, you lost, you can still join us just to hear the talk. You can still talk. I think, speaking for myself, I actually enjoy more reading about other people's victories and their close cuts. I mean, with my own, it's personal, but that's why I like having the community that we have, and we can all kind of come together and say, man, I'm glad I started Zay Jones and Jerick McKinnon.
Yes, you are. And whoever you played against is like going, how did I just lose to Zay Jones and Jerick McKinnon? Like, what just happened?
And you know what you tell them? I watched the fantasy endgame.
That's right.
All right, and then Jason Rodriguez.
Credit for Zay Jones this week.
Yeah, it didn't stump. I stumped for Christian Kirk, but of course now I think the rest of the short year we have, every time I say Christian Kirk, just swap out Zay Jones' name for him.
Yeah.
Okay, rest of the season. So I guess the next couple of weeks, Tua, Cousins, or Lawrence.
I mean, Lawrence looks good, man, but can you really bench Cousins right now?
Well, here's the thing. Lawrence gets to go on the road to play the Jets next week. It's not a good spot for him.
I know, but we were worried about him this week against Dallas. Maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but Dallas defense has been starting to crack, and they've got some injuries in their secondary. The Jets, you saw, just pretty much completely shut down Jared Goff in the Lions pass game. I'm a little more worried about that. I think it's got to be Cousins too, though. Cousins, at home next week also against the Giants, not a bad spot. I'd like to say Tua, but he's kind of fallen back more kind of middle of the pack fantasy-wise for quarterbacks. Yeah. Not getting the volume even of either of these two guys. So I'm going to go Cousins.
Yeah. Got to be Cousins.
All right. Let's see. Jay Landrum. Down 3. My opponent has a kicker left, but I have Aaron Jones left.
I mean, you should, but you never know with kickers. You get some random stupid, like, who was that kicker for the Colts? no one started. I mean, maybe people started him, right? You get some crazy game like that, but you should win. Yes, I would hope you win.
But I like how he didn't even name the kicker. It's just like, I have a kicker left. Like it doesn't matter who it is, right? It's a kicker.
It's just random luck, completely.
What is up, Michael? Michael Fawcett, one of our patrons. Fantasy funny? That's a good way to put it. Sometimes painful, like haha. Not haha funny, but haha like it hurts inside and I want to cry. I got smashed by 60 in one league, lost in another to someone who doesn't set their lineup.
That's brutal. Yep.
I'm feeling
you can't even like what you gotta like almost like laugh as you cry. Because you can't even like kick yourself and been like, oh, it's like, no, you lost to a team that didn't even set a lineup. Like that's just laugh until you
cry, drink, repeat. Trigger Trey, do you hit Chiggy with it or Fant or keep Andrews in, hoping for the best for an 8th week in a row after doing nothing?
Mark Andrews is going to probably be the question of the week next week because Lamar likely back and it's Atlanta. Like, it's going to be so easy to talk yourself into Mark Andrews. Like, oh, Lamar is back and it's Atlanta. But can you do it? Can you do it? I can do it I can play him over Fant. I don't care that Fant had like a touchdown. I think he had a touchdown in that game, didn't he? Like it feels so that Thursday night game feels so long ago. Like was that weeks ago or was that just this week? Chiggy maybe if Burks is out again, but that would be the only way. I think you still, especially if Lamar's back against Atlanta, I think you got to roll with Andrews and take your chances.
That's the thing. It's Atlanta. They're at home against Atlanta. And with these options, no, I can't. And then Okonkwo, he's been fine. But again, if Treylon Burks is back, I do think that will affect him. If Lamar's back, I'm going Andrews. Then what about Pacheco, Dobbins, or Monty? I mean, I'm not out on Pacheco because of McKinnon, but look, come on, it's got to be Dobbins.
I think it's got to be Dobbins. He gets another. Well, he gets Atlanta also, so yeah, I think it's got to be Dobbins. Although Monty today against
Monty was
Philly
good.
looked great.
Yeah, Monty's a solid play for sure.
That was a tough matchup, and he went off. He looked great.
Yeah, that's true. And then Dan Chunko, I think we met Dan at the expo in Canton, didn't we?
I think we did. I think we did.
What's up, Dan? Okay, Heineke fan tonight. Well, that's Chris's. Heineke's your guy, isn't it?
I mean, he plays for the Commanders. I wouldn't call him a guy. I wish
the Commanders are your team, at least.
He's on my team.
No Heineke jerseys? No. Okay.
No, definitely not.
All right. Cornelius Terry, welcome back, Cornelius. Murray beat, if not all, beat all your mustards at 20 points. Okay, let's talk Latavius Murray. Let's talk about the Broncos with Brett Rippon. I mean, they didn't go off or anything, but Latavius Murray had himself a game. What does that mean?
I mean, it doesn't mean anything to me. Like, are you like KJ? You know what? KJ Osborne beat your Latavius Murray too. Are you gonna go start KJ Osborne next week? Like, no. Like, these games happen. And look, Arizona, Colt McCoy got hurt. They were down to Trace McSorley. They couldn't do anything on offense, like nothing. So yeah, I mean, look, if you want to start Latavius Murray next week, hey, have at it. Judy was decent today. I will say that Judy was at least decent. He was at least decent. I think maybe Judy's like startable, assuming Sutton is out again.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Judy could be a flex play next week if you need him, especially if Sutton's out. Murray, it tells me they've faced a 4-10 Cardinals team who had their third string quarterback and whose general manager just quit and whose coach is about to get fired. And that's kind of what it tells me.
And also gets the Rams next week. So
yeah, I'm not doing Latavius Murray. Kyle Brooks, what is up? Down 24. Have Rodgers and Aaron Jones. Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna sweat. You're gonna sweat for sure, but it's definitely possible. Definitely like if I had to bet, I'd bet on your side. But it's a sweat.
Yeah, it's not a gimme. It's definitely not a gimme. It could be a low-scoring game, but I think Rodgers will be fine because the Rams defense hasn't obviously been last year's Rams defense, and Aaron Jones should be okay.
And one thing, Rodgers also, we talk about Goff home road splits, and look, Goff did throw a touchdown today, but it was a screen pass to a tight end that he took 50 yards to the house.
Yes.
So it's hard to say Jared Goff threw a touchdown today. But Aaron Rodgers also has these interesting like home road splits, where he's been like 2 touchdowns against New England, 2 touchdowns against the Bears, 2 touchdowns against the Giants. These are some tough, 3 touchdowns against Dallas at home, 2 against Tennessee at home. Like, he's been really good at home this year. So home game against the Rams, who are way worse against the pass and the run. I think Aaron Rodgers has an okay game.
And we know typically you favor the home team. They have an advantage, especially the defensive side. There's usually, but there's some teams where it's a very obvious, pronounced split. Green Bay is one, Detroit is one. It seems to be actually all the northern teams for some reason. Minnesota is one. Sometimes Miami's one because in the early part of the season, because that humidity, some teams just aren't ready for it, and they can cramp and stuff. And I like they designed the stadium so that the sun hits on the visitor side, but it's shaded on the home side. And so they're sweating all. They actually did that on purpose. Like,
nice.
Anyways, I think you've got a good shot, though. I think you got a good shot. Kev Dub, Hurts. Let's talk about Hurts. He looked terrible, and then proceeded to drop 35. A Christmas miracle? Not really. He's been the QB1 all season.
Yeah, like that was crazy. It looked. I was like, oh my gosh, is Hurts gonna finally bust in week 15? No, he's not gonna bust. Nope.
No worries about Hurts. Okay, here's a good one. Do you like Purdy over Brady next week? Because Brady looked terrible, but he still threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, albeit garbage time.
No, I mean, who does Brady play next week?
Next week, Tampa plays at Arizona.
You gotta like that. Arizona just made Brett Rippon look halfway decent.
Yeah,
and I know Purdy's been pretty good, but I mean, he hasn't been like lighting the world on fire as far as fantasy goes. So I'm still going Brady over Purdy.
You just say he's been pretty good.
He's been pretty good, but
he's pretty
not
good.
great. Not great.
But here's the thing, like, guys, and it's funny because I was actually last night hanging out with a friend who's a huge Niners fan because he's from San Francisco. And, oh, man, Brock Purdy, this, that, whatever. Like, look, he's been good in real life. He's been okay in fantasy, like just okay. He hasn't had 3-4 touchdown games. He isn't running for like 100 yards. He's not throwing for a lot of volume. He's a game manager. He's like a slightly more mobile Jimmy G, which is all San Francisco needs. That's all the Niners. With that defense, they do not want him to throw it 30 plus times a game. So in fantasy, he's not a guy you're going to start in a single quarterback league. Is Tom Brady a guy you want to start a single? Well, preferably not, but if he's your best choice, I mean, you know, I'll go with him over Deshaun Watson now and some of these other guys. But yeah, I would not go Purdy over Brady next week.
No, against Arizona, no.
Speaking of bad teams, start Connor, even though they know their season is over.
Yeah, I mean, they're not gonna bench him or anything. So he is what he is, right? He's a volume-based guy who kind of needs a touch. Like he's not as touchdown dependent as those guys who don't catch any passes, because he will catch some passes, but he's like a volume dependent kind of guy who doesn't really have a ton of upside.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great spot for him,
No.
you know, as far as the defensive matchup this game, and he still did fine. 63 yards and a touchdown. I mean, obviously, without the touchdown, he did nothing, but he got the touchdown, and that's what he does. He doesn't run for 5 yards a carry. He gets touchdowns. So I think Connor's still startable the rest of the season. Should be better next week. Julio Espinosa won despite the dud of Muth. Okay. If your pivot is Goddard, yeah, you're good.
Yeah, if your pivot is Goddard, don't even worry about it. Like, if your choices are Freiermuth or Goddard next week, assuming Goddard's activated, you just go to Goddard.
Yes, definitely Goddard over Muth. And then here's a good one. Okay, you got Jettis, Sungod, and Diggs. Would you consider Keenan over any of those three?
I mean, can we start considering Keenan over Sungod? I know we're going to get a lot of hate in the comments, but this is 2 weeks in a row. What, like 13 last week, 15 this week? He's been good. He hasn't been terrible, but Keenan's been a monster. He's been a monster the last, 3 or 4 games, and he gets such an insane amount of targets. Like, and I think they have a pretty good matchup again next week, don't they? Who do the Chargers play?
That's the thing. You know, I'm going to say this, right? With Detroit, of all teams, if Detroit's at home, I think I got to go with the Sun God. But Detroit's on the road against the Panthers, which have been decent, you know, defensively. And the Chargers next week are at the Colts.
And not only that,
I think I'll go Keenan.
Who just destroyed the Colts? I mean, Justin Jefferson, of course, but who else?
KJ Osborne. That's
and,
slot
and
guy.
what position does KJ Osborne play?
Same as Sun God.
No, same as Keenan.
Oh, same as Keenan.
Slot wide receiver.
Yep.
And now Keenan gets that slot wide receiver matchup. Now the Colts were missing their starting slot corner, but still, like, I might go Keenan indoors, right? They're going to be in a dome because they're at Indy. They're in a dome. Don't have to worry about the weather. Jared Goff on the road. We talked about it. Got lucky with that touchdown today because Brock Wright went 50-plus yards to the house on a screenplay. It wasn't like Jared Goff lit it up. I think I would go Keenan over Sungod next week. I really would.
Yeah, and I don't think that's, you know, a risk or anything. I mean, numbers are pretty similar. The last couple of weeks since Keenan came back, they're pretty much putting up similar numbers. I'd have to go look and see exactly, but it's pretty close between the two. Go with the guy that's going to have a better matchup. And then Jordan Ruiz, we're picking 2 already, getting with the start sit, which, by the way, guys, reminder, because the game has already started, so we're about to wrap up here. Start sit. Join us on Friday night for our start sit. We usually do it Saturdays, but as you probably know, the slate is full on Saturday. You have to set your lineup before Saturday starts, so we're going to do this Friday night. And we'll be on Saturday morning early with our patrons to do our private start sit show with them. That would be, if you want to join, patreon.com/fantasyfootballendgame. Link is in the description below if you're interested in that. Also going to get some waiver wire breakdown, not just what you see on the video that goes out tomorrow, but an extended look at the best options on the waiver wire. That's something that we do for the patrons. Also weekly rankings. Yeah. So let's do this real quick. Pick 2 RBs for next week: Dobbins, Monty, and Sanders.
Oh, Sanders. What happened to Sanders this week? In a smash spot. got smashed. That was crazy. And I think next week he's got a tough matchup, doesn't he?
Well, it was looking tough until the last 2 weeks. It's at Dallas, but now look, Dallas is giving up a lot of yards to running backs all of a sudden.
I know, but can you trust Sanders after this week? I mean, there's major trust issues now because this was the Bears.
I think so. Sanders has been so good. I think he's going to do better next week. Dobbins to me, I'm going with Dobbins.
Next week.
Monty, the Bears are at home against the Bills. So it's not a great spot. But look, the Bills just got gashed by Raheem Mostert. So
I don't know. I might go Monty and Dobbins. But the thing with Sanders is, like, after a game like this, he's probably going to go off for like 30 next week, right?
It's probable, because that's what Sanders does. When he has a down game, he follows it up with a smash game. And I don't know. I feel like, oddly enough, it's going to be a big game for Sanders, and I feel like you have to start Dobbins. Monty, I think, is fine, but he's probably the one I would put third.
Interesting.
But it's close. I mean, they're all pretty close.
Because Monty today, 12 carries, 3 targets. I mean, yeah, he scored twice. You can't really count on that. Yeah, it's close.
All right. In the bus with a combo. What's up, bus? Made it home from the game. Henry looks very slow in person. I guess you'd appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I have Henry on 2 teams that one had a bye and one won today. So I hope, I don't care if he's slow or not. Just give me those insane touches. Yeah, I'll take a slow 20 points for sure.
I'll take it. And yeah. I have a couple leagues that I'm in the playoffs with Henry, and I'm not complaining.
No, I'll take the points. Yeah, he's slow, but that kind of volume doesn't matter, right?
I think it's a good way to end it up from the Eggman as well. Sometimes pretty good is good enough.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
All right, guys, we are past our time. Don't forget, join us Tuesday night. Join us Friday night. Join us on Discord, absolutely free. Link is down below. And, of course, you can always join us on Patreon. You can check that out as well. Good luck the rest of your Week 15, tonight and tomorrow. And be on the lookout as soon as tonight's game is over for the panic video. Which guys should you really be worried about, as the guys, for probably a lot of them you are worried about, for the rest of your playoff matchups. All right. Good luck.